Welcome to the third video in this series covering the fundamentals of screenwriting and storytelling. You can find the full playlist link in the description or on the end screen of this video. Last video, I looked at the fundamental building blocks of dramatic characters. In this video, I'm going to be examining the different character arcs and how they can be practically understood to help begin a story or fix problems while rewriting. So when I talked about building dramatic characters, I showed you how you need to define the beliefs of your characters so that you can then create their want and need. A character arc will be the gradual internal change in beliefs that a character goes through from the beginning of the story to the end. Through the events of the plot, which will largely be focused on what a character wants, your character will be continually dealing with what they believe about the world and dealing with their main false belief, which is their lie. Remember that the lie your character believes is a false belief they hold about themselves or the world. The arc of the character will be the change in beliefs that takes place inside them as they pursue their external want. K.M. Weiland writes, "Character arcs are ultimately the whole point of fiction. The change, the journey from one spiritual, emotional, intellectual place to another, is the story of humanity." Weiland is saying that the internal change made within characters defines the reason that stories exist at all. In other words, the change that a character makes will define the meaning of the story and the reason it exists. Remember when Harmon talked about how story structure was built upon cycles of change? Weiland is applying this to the character's internal journey. Change creates dramatic narrative, and change in beliefs creates meaning. In her book Creating Character Arcs, Weiland lays out 3 arcs: the change arc, the flat arc, and the negative arc. And to this list, I'm going to add one more arc, the open-ended arc. First, let's take a look at the most prominent type of character arc, the change arc, also called the positive change arc. As I explained in the previous video, your character's need is a result of being internally incomplete because of their lie. This lie will become the main element in the internal change of the character as he or she encounters the truth. The change arc works like this: character believes lie, character encounters the truth, character overcomes lie by finding and accepting the truth. In 7, Detective Somerset is our protagonist, and he begins the story with a lie. Somerset believes the world is too lost in darkness to be saved.
Where are you headed? Far away from here.
And he doesn't believe he's doing anything worthwhile. He has become apathetic. The lie that your character believes will usually be the result of their ghost. Weiland writes, "Ghost is movie speak for something in your character's past that haunts him." You may also see it sometimes referred to as the wound. So your character's ghost, a traumatic or belief-defining event in their past, will haunt them and be a pivotal reason for the lie they hold throughout the story. Somerset's lie is that the world is too lost in darkness to be saved. And late in the film, Somerset reveals his ghost. In this scene, Somerset reveals that he had a woman he loved very much, but when she got pregnant, Somerset didn't think he could bring a child into this world.
I remember thinking, how can I bring a child into a world like this? How can a person grow up with all this around them?
And it's here we find Somerset's lie.
I can tell you now that I know, I'm positive that I made the right decision.
Somerset believed the world was too dark for him to bring a child into it. This is who Somerset is when we meet him in the beginning of the story. Now let's look at how he changes over time. Somerset is assigned to work with Detective Mills. Mills holds different beliefs about the main philosophical conflict at the center of the story. While Somerset is burnt out and apathetic, Mills believes he can still help make the world a better place.
Why here?
I don't follow.
Very simple. You actually fought to get reassigned here. I've just never seen it done that way before.
Thought I could do some good. Look, it would be great for me if we didn't start out kicking each other in the balls.
Remember the last video when I talked about how a character's wants and needs are defined by their beliefs? The conflict between Somerset and Mills is a great example of this. Throughout the story, Mills forces Somerset to examine his beliefs.
You should listen to yourself. Yeah, You say that the problem with people is that they don't care. So I don't care about people. I don't think you're quitting because you believe these things you say. I don't. I think you want to believe them because you're quitting.
Mills does what he can to shake Somerset's beliefs, and Mills does persuade Somerset to examine what he believes, but Mills can't quite get Somerset to change his point of view. But there is someone who does.
You're looking for me.
The serial killer they've been chasing, John Doe, shows Somerset what an extreme version of Somerset's beliefs would look like.
Innocent? Is that supposed to be funny? Only in a world this shitty could you even try to say these were innocent people and keep a straight face. But that's the point. We see a deadly sin on every street corner, in every home, and we tolerate it.
In a way, Somerset and John Doe agree. The city is full of apathy, crime, and filth. But while Somerset thinks he can simply leave it all behind, John Doe wants to cleanse the city through violence and torture. While John Doe gives his speech to Mills in the car, Somerset is the one whose beliefs are being challenged. In the climax, John Doe breaks Mills. He wins. Yet at the same time, John Doe has forced Somerset to fully confront his beliefs and make a positive change. In the last lines of the film, we see that Somerset's beliefs have changed. He has found and accepted the truth.
Ernest Hemingway once wrote, "The world is a fine place and worth fighting for." I agree with the second part.
Somerset has moved from cynicism and apathy to believing the world is still worth fighting for. So when you're writing your own positive change arc, there's a few elements that are useful to keep in mind. First, establishing the lie the character believes is one of the most important things you can do. The audience will not be able to see how the character changes over time if they don't understand the lie the character believes. Second is understanding the power of a clear ghost for your character. When your character has a legitimate traumatic experience that's happened in their life to create their current beliefs, it makes those beliefs stronger than just ideas in their heads. Their beliefs are part of who they are. Their beliefs are part of their identity. Another important element is the other characters or events that put the character's lie into question, reveal the truth, and help drive not only the internal conflict of the character, but the external plot as well. It can be useful to be aware of the exact lie the character believes and the exact truth they need to find when beginning a story. While some may think beginning this way is too restrictive or formulaic, it will give you a starting point of internal character conflict to allow the plot to grow more naturally out of the character's want and need. Next, let's take a look at the flat arc. In a flat arc, the character has already found and accepted the truth. They have no need, no lie, and make no internal change. Weiland writes, "The flat arc character already has the truth figured out in the beginning of the story, and he uses that truth to help him overcome various external tests." The flat arc looks like this. Character believes the truth, character's belief in the truth is tested, character holds on to the truth. But stories are still about change, so if your main character is a flat arc character, it will usually be the characters around him or her that will go through change. Remember when I talked about Katniss Everdeen? This is a flat arc character. She remains the protagonist of her story, but she is not the one who changes. She changes the people around her. Katniss helps the people across the different districts realize that they have power and that they can fight the Capitol and gain their freedom. But a character doesn't have to be the symbol of goodness just because they don't have a need. In There Will Be Blood, Daniel Plainview is a flat arc character. While Katniss helps those around her find positive truths, Daniel reveals a dark truth, that exploiting others can bring success. As Daniel interacts with the other characters, he begins to exploit, manipulate, and even kill them to get what he wants. His belief in this negative truth allows him to win again and again and again.
I have a competition in me. I want no one else to succeed.
Let's take a look at how the flat arc is structured in a story. Katniss begins her story believing a truth, that people should be free and should stand up to their oppressors. Daniel begins his story also believing a truth. His truth is that exploiting others and completely focusing on one singular goal will help you get what you want. The beginning will also show what the other people believe about this particular truth. In the Hunger Games, Katniss is generally alone in her belief in this truth. Others around her either don't believe their freedom can be won, or they are too scared to say anything. In There Will Be Blood, many of the characters are also aware of the truth that others can be exploited. However, they don't believe these horrible things can happen to them. Paul Sunday uses Daniel for his own advantage. Eli Sunday tries to use Daniel's riches for himself and his church. Katniss' sister is taken for the Hunger Games, and Katniss volunteers to take her place. Even though Katniss is now a captive of the Capitol doomed to die in a sick game, Katniss remains defiant in her training. And inside the game, Katniss continues to defy the status quo and do what she believes. One of the most important characters Katniss meets is Rue. Rue and Katniss become close, and through Rue's death, Katniss is empowered to be even more vocal and open about sparking rebellion, and she does just that. In There Will Be Blood, Daniel begins the story with his truth immediately challenged. As he mines for silver, his ladder breaks on him and he breaks his leg, an injury that will stay with him for the rest of his life. Yet even as his leg is broken, he focuses on the silver. No matter what, Daniel will achieve his goal. Daniel slowly builds his oil empire. He takes over more and more land and makes deals with larger oil companies in return for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Those who come against Daniel are killed, exploited, and lied to. No one realizes how dangerous Daniel is until it's too late. Daniel is constantly manipulating others to get what he wants. Eli Sunday challenges Daniel's control over the townspeople. HW forces Daniel to see what having a family could actually be like. HW is the example of an alternative life Daniel could choose. And William Bandy becomes a thorn in Daniel's side. He's a man who doesn't want money, which is the only thing Daniel has to offer. The largest threat to Daniel comes when his four main antagonists all align to create the largest attack on what Daniel believes. Daniel's brother, who turns out to be a fraud, destroys Daniel's last chance at having a normal family bond with someone. After he kills his brother, he's caught by William Bandy. Daniel wants Bandy's land for a pipeline and offers money, but Bandy doesn't want money. He wants Daniel to become a part of the church. At the church, Daniel is humiliated by Eli Sunday, to the point where Eli forces Daniel to admit that he abandoned his son.
Say it. Abandoned my child. Say it louder. Say it louder. I've abandoned my child! I've abandoned my child! I've abandoned my boy!
Both Katniss and Daniel go through multiple obstacles and face all sorts of characters who challenge what they believe. While all sorts of antagonists try to force Katniss into despair, she never gives up. She continues defying the Capitol and sparks hope in the people across the districts. This spirit inside her never changes. It only becomes more and more apparent. Daniel is the same way. Even through everything the other characters throw at him, he stays strong and continues to beat them over and over again. And he gets everything he ever wanted. He becomes extremely wealthy and destroys those who tried to stop him. Remember, stories are about change. If you are creating a character that will not change throughout a story, it's important to take a look at the other characters to see which ones may change. It's not that you have to know exactly who will change and how as you begin a story. However, if you move through the entire story with little dramatic character change, then it's much more difficult to keep an audience engaged with the story as a whole. The last type of arc that Weiland outlines is the negative change arc, and it's the most complicated of the three. Weiland writes, "The negative change arc tells the story of a character who ends in a worse place than that in which he started." The negative change arc has three different types of arcs within it: the disillusionment arc, the fall arc, and the corruption arc. The disillusionment arc is exactly the same as the positive change arc. The character has a lie that must be overcome. The only difference is that when the character overcomes the lie and finds the truth is negative. Simply put, character believes a lie, overcomes that lie, but the new truth is tragic. In Sicario, Kate Macer begins the story believing a lie. She believes that the systems of justice are generally upright and operate according to the law, and she believes that she won't compromise her morals to catch criminals. But when Kate is reassigned to a new task force, she realizes that nothing is like she thought it would be. Government agents are operating illegally to take down the cartel. She is surrounded by morally gray characters who will do whatever it takes to get to the cartel leaders.
Got a little nutty, huh?
Nutty, yeah. Yeah, that was fucking illegal. You want to start a war?
Matt and Alejandro lie and use Kate to get closer to the cartel. Kate is constantly shown the reality of what's happening in the fight against the drug cartels, and deep down, she knows she hasn't been able to make any real change so far.
Every day across that border, people are kidnapped or killed by his hand or with his blessing. To find them would be like discovering a vaccine.
The longer Kate works with these men, the more she realizes the truth. Kate tries to get in the way of illegal acts done by Matt and Alejandro, but in the end, Alejandro gets to the cartel leader and kills him. Then Alejandro finds Kate and tells her to sign a document saying that everything they did was legal and by the book. In this moment, Alejandro is attacking Kate's core belief. Kate folds. She signs the document, showing that she has found the truth. But that truth is tragic, and that truth is that the world is not black and white, and that sometimes people must abandon the rule of law to stop evil.
She moved to a small town where the rule of law still exists. You will not survive here. You're not a wolf, and this is the land of wolves now.
Writing a disillusionment arc will work very similarly to the positive change arc, and it can be helpful to nail down the exact lie your character believes and the dark truth they will come to understand. This will give you a launching point to begin your story or a way to find story problems and solve them. In a fall arc, the character will have a fatal flaw or lie just like the positive change arc, but instead of finding the truth and accepting it, the character will fall further into the darkness of the lie, usually ending in self-inflicted destruction. Simply put, the character believes the lie, clings to the lie, rejects new truth, and finally believes a stronger or worse lie. In X-Men First Class, Eric Lensher, aka Magneto, is a great example of this arc. Eric is a man who has seen extreme amounts of suffering and carries great pain with him from the murder of his mother in a concentration camp. Eric's lie is that he believes his anger gives him power. Sebastian Shaw unlocked Eric's power through anger and hate. Eric believes finding and killing Shaw will satisfy him. But Eric meets Charles. Charles tries to convince Eric of the truth, that he must let go of his anger and desire for revenge if he wants to find peace, and that his true power is found at a place deeper than his anger. At the midpoint, Shaw kills Darwin. Eric wants to avenge Darwin by going after Shaw with the other mutants. Charles reluctantly agrees. Through Charles's help, Eric gets even stronger. It seems as though Charles is getting through to Eric. But it wasn't enough. Eric goes against Charles and kills Shaw. And this success introduces a stronger lie. Eric believes that Shaw was right, and that mutants must kill humanity to survive and bring in the future. At the end, we see that Eric's new lie is still rooted in his childhood trauma.
I've been at the mercy of men just following orders. Never again.
In a fall arc, the character will usually start in a dark place or already on a dark path. They start by being unaware of the truth, get a glimpse of what could be, but never embrace it. For this type of arc, the motivation for the lie and why the character does not embrace the truth is very important. In X-Men First Class, while we may not agree with Eric's conclusions, his past suffering makes it totally understandable for why he cannot embrace the truth. In a corruption arc, a character will have the truth in the beginning of the story, or at least will be very aware of the truth. Then throughout the events of the story, the character will reject the truth they know for a lie. It will look like this. A character sees the truth, rejects the truth, and embraces a lie. In The Godfather, Michael Corleone is surrounded by the lie, but is aware of the truth. Michael has been born into a mob family. He is aware of who his family is and what kind of business they run. The family's lie is that the way to survive is to be brutal and powerful, and Michael believes he is not like them.
That's my family, Kay. It's not me.
But Don Corleone is shot. This causes Michael to get pulled into the mob at a time of crisis. This is a pivotal moment. All his life, Michael has believed he is different from his family, and that he must go a different way. However, there are elements of good in his family. They believe in honor, in watching out for family, and in loyalty. And these are things that Michael also believes in. He can't just leave his family in their moment of need. He must help them survive. So he decides to get involved. Notice how the positive beliefs that Michael and his family hold help to pull him into the world of the lie. This is important to remember when writing your own stories. Your characters won't simply join a lie for no reason. They must believe in elements of it. It must seem like the right thing to do. At the midpoint, Michael shoots Sollozzo, which changes him from being a civilian to an active member of this war. Michael is descending into the lie. After Michael shoots Sollozzo, he is sent to Sicily to hide. This gives Michael one final opportunity to embrace the truth and fully stay away from the mob. But this doesn't happen. His new wife is killed, which sends Michael back to America. Michael Corleone becomes the head of the family and kills the leaders of the other families, solidifying his family as the most powerful mob and embracing the lie, that the way to survive is through power and brutality. The major difference in a corruption arc and a fall arc is that in the beginning of a fall arc, the character is not aware of the truth. But in a corruption arc, the character will be. In this story, the lie must be appealing, because the character must have a good reason to leave the truth and embrace the lie. In The Godfather, the lie is appealing for two main reasons. The first reason is that the lie is what helps keep Michael's family safe. The Corleone family cannot simply lay down arms and move into the normal world. They are too involved in organized crime, and they have too many enemies. The second reason is that the mob represents power and control, something that Michael realizes he craves as the story goes forward. It's not simply about protecting his family. Deep down, he wants to be feared and respected. But character arcs can get more interesting than this, and I want to focus on an arc that Weiland doesn't talk about. I'm going to call this the open-ended arc. In an open-ended arc, the character may have a need or they may not, depending on an audience's interpretation of the film. Let's take a look at Whiplash and examine Andrew's character arc. Andrew wants to become a great musician. Throughout the story, he pursues this want until he gets it in the end. So what is his need? And what is his lie? I think there are two main interpretations. First, you could say that Andrew has a fall arc. Remember, in a fall arc, the character believes a lie, clings to that lie, rejects the truth, and then believes a stronger or worse lie. Let's see if it works. Andrew starts the story by believing a lie, that achieving greatness will make him fulfilled. As Andrew gets closer to his goal, Fletcher pushes him harder and harder. Fletcher believes his method of teaching can push people to true greatness. When Fletcher cuts Andrew from the band, Andrew has an opportunity to re-examine his belief. Is greatness really worth it? A normal life can be very fulfilling. Why not embrace it instead? But Andrew talks with Fletcher again. Fletcher is given the chance to explain himself, and once again, Andrew focuses on becoming great. Not only that, but he believes in Fletcher's method. At the end of the film, Fletcher embarrasses Andrew. Andrew walks toward his father, the representation of the normal life. But then Andrew chooses greatness. He chooses a worse lie, that greatness is what fulfills him, and that greatness is achieved through pushing people to the breaking point. So it seems to work, but let's take a look at it again from a different point of view. Let's look at the story as if Andrew has a flat arc. In the beginning of the story, Andrew believes greatness will fulfill him. This isn't necessarily a lie. This may actually be the truth. Not only that, but he already respects Fletcher's methods.
And his opinion means a lot to you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Andrew also looks down upon people who choose to be normal rather than great. While others around him, like his father and Nicole, stand as representations of the normal life he could choose, he continues to follow Fletcher towards greatness.
Because I want to be great.
Even after Fletcher kicks Andrew out of the band, Andrew doesn't want to turn against him. Why? Because Andrew knows that Fletcher helps create great musicians. Andrew stops being a musician, but we see that he has lost his purpose. greatness still sits on his mind. He sits in a moment of confusion. Is the truth that he knows actually true? Is greatness worth it? When he meets back up with Fletcher, his truth is reinvigorated, and in the end, he chooses to be great rather than to be normal. Fletcher's methods were right. You can build greatness through torment, and Andrew was right to trust in Fletcher and make him a great musician. Depending on your point of view regarding greatness and Fletcher's methods, the story seems to change meaning and the character arc seems to change as well. This was the intention of writer-director Damien Chazelle. He wanted the audience to ask themselves these specific questions. Is greatness worth it? And is torment the best way to produce greatness? The interpretation depends on whether an individual thinks Andrew believes a lie or has found the truth. Do films like Whiplash put into question the previous understanding of character arcs? No, I don't think so. Whiplash is an intentionally open-ended story about an idea that still isn't fully understood. Interpreting the story through different character arcs is intentional and not simply academic theory. I'm not suggesting that Chazelle wrote the story by being totally aware of the fall arc and the flat arc, but he did write to intentionally explore an idea that he was struggling with, something that he wasn't sure was a lie or the truth. And this struggle created the different interpretations of Andrew's arc. The beliefs of your characters and the change that they go through over the course of your story will create the meaning and reason that your story exists. Stories without beliefs and change can be exciting rides, but are usually forgettable. These arcs are not the ultimate rules for how you should create characters, but they are frameworks that can set you on the right track to create emotionally resonant characters and stories. When beginning a story or trying to fix problems, ask yourself, what are the beliefs that your characters hold? What is this story really about? And how can you create internal change in your characters throughout the story? It doesn't mean you have to outline your entire story and not allow any creative freedom. It simply means that you are writing with a focus. I'm not trying to give you an understanding of how every character arc works, but I hope that this video gives you a better understanding of the purpose of character arc and how it drives the events of the story. But why do your characters need to be in conflict? What is conflict, and what is its purpose in a story? Next week, I'll be taking a look at the purpose of conflict and its role in a meaningful story. So be sure to check out the other videos in this series by clicking the playlist. And if you like this video, leave a like and subscribe for more videos just like this one.